Today we're going to be talking about more functions and function notation, evaluating functions, adding and subtracting different functions, and trying to make some sense of what's going on here with these functions. So I gave you these equations right here are givens. We're going to say that the function of x, or the function f of x equals 3x squared. The function g of x equals 5x minus 2. And the function h of x equals negative 4x squared minus 2x plus 7. Now to start with, whenever we have these and we're given certain numbers, and remember in the last lesson, we would just remember these are originally like f of x, g of x, h of x. These numbers substitute with the x values here. So in letter A, it says we want to take the function f of negative 4, which means we want to use this top equation. So I'm going to substitute the negative 4 in for the x's. F of negative 4 equals 3 parentheses negative 4, and then we square this function, that part. Now remember your order of operations. Please do not multiply first. Remember we have to do parentheses first. There's nothing to do with the parentheses, but we do have exponents. This exponent comes first. If you're plugging it in the calculator, it would be 3 parentheses negative 4, close your parentheses. Then your caret button and squared. Or if there's a squared button there, you can do that. When we do that, we will get 48. So f of negative 4 equals 48. Remember, our domain, there's our range. Now we want to try our function g of 10. So we're using our second function because it says we want to use the g function. So g of 10 equals 5 parentheses 10 minus 2. Substituting the 10's in for the x's. Here we start with 5 times 10 is 50. 50 minus 2 is, ended up being 48. That is just coincidence. It's not always like that. So again, our range for this function in this problem was 48. We're just evaluating. Again, you'll hear me and maybe a lot of other teachers saying we're plugging and chugging. Plugging a number in, chugging it out. Now with this more complicated problem, h. H of 2. So how many x's do you see here in this function on this side? There's 2 of them, which means this 2 has to go in both spots. The negative 4 stays the same. I'm going to plug in 2 and then square it. Minus 2 parentheses 2 plus 7. If you want to plug this in your calculator, go ahead. Just the way it looks. Negative 4 parentheses 2 caret 2 minus 2 parentheses 2 plus 7. You will get the right answer. If you're doing it by hand, we would have negative 4 times 4. That would be negative 16. Negative 2 times 2 is minus 4, and then plus 7. And we end up with negative 13 would be the answer for C. Make sure you're doing the exponents before you multiply. The second part of this is there's not going to be any numbers in here. This is where a lot of people get confused because you're thinking too much. Right? I want you to do just what you think you're supposed to do. In the first problem, we're taking f of x plus h of x. Substitute it in. What is f of x? F of x is 3x squared. Plus, now h of x is a negative 4x squared minus 2x plus 7. I'm just substituting these things in for my functions here. The last part, we have to see if we can combine any like terms. We haven't talked about combining like terms in a while, but remember, same variable, same exponent are the ones we can combine. If I look at that, I have a 3x squared and a negative 4x squared. Same variable, same exponent. So 3 and negative 4 is just negative 1x squared or just negative x squared. Can't combine these. We simply rewrite them. And there's our answer there. That's as simple as it gets. Letter E, we were subtracting. Now this is where it gets a little bit confusing. We're going g of x minus h of x. G of x minus h of x. So again, I want to substitute my g of x in here. 5x minus 2. I'm subtracting this. So everything here is being subtracted. So I'm going to use a parentheses here to make sure I remember to subtract these numbers. So I'm going to start with 5x minus 2 minus a negative 4x, which makes this positive 4x squared. Minus a negative 2x is a positive 2x. Minus a positive 7 is minus 7. I got rid of that subtraction. Again, I want to see what terms I can combine. I see I can combine 5x and 2x, and then the negative 2, because this is a constant, and that is a constant. I only have one term of x squares. So I'm going to start with that. 4x squared. 5x plus 2x is 7x. And then negative 2 and negative 7 is negative 9. And that is done. Where are we at on time? Okay. And there's our answer there. One more with multiplication. I think it's f of x times g of x. Now with this, you're going to have to think back to our distributive property and the rule of exponents and things like that. So we started with f of x times g of x. So we're going to substitute our f of x, which is 3x squared, times, again, everything in parentheses here, 5x minus 2. So we need to distribute this part to both of those. Multiply the coefficients to 3 times 5. That is 15. X squared and x. There's 2 x's here and 1 x here. We add the exponents, so that's x to the third. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And there's only x to the second here, plus no x's stays x to the second. And that's how we would multiply that problem. So we multiply the coefficients, add the exponents. And that's how we would add, subtract, and multiply certain functions. Again, we're not really evaluating anything, we're just kind of grouping it all together. See you next time.